The Lord made known unto Solomon his will, and gave him wisdom exceeding all men. What kind of wisdom does that truly look like? It wasn't just about knowing answers. It was about understanding the world in a way no one else could. Solomon, the third king of Israel, was given a gift unlike any other, immense wisdom directly from God. He used this wisdom to rule his kingdom with fairness and justice, building magnificent temples and composing poetic hymns that echoed through generations. Solomon's birth was a momentous occasion, marked by divine favor and prophetic blessings. His mother, Bathsheba, had already been through much, enduring hardship and heartache after David's sin with her husband Uriah. But Solomon's arrival was a sign of God's forgiveness and restoration. Nathan the prophet declared that, "The Lord has made atonement for your sin. You will not die." 2 Samuel 12 verse 13. This prophecy extended to Solomon, who would become David's heir, carrying on the lineage of kings and ruling with wisdom and justice. Solomon's early years were steeped in royal privilege. He grew up within the palace walls, surrounded by wealth and power. Even before his ascension to the throne, he displayed a keen intellect and a thirst for knowledge. David, recognizing Solomon's potential, showered him with affection and instilled in him a love for God's law and for righteousness. King David designated Solomon as his successor, acknowledging the Lord's choice. 1 Kings 1 verses 29 to 30. This decision ensured a smooth transition of power, avoiding any internal strife or division within the kingdom. David also carefully prepared Solomon for his future role, teaching him the ways of kingship and offering guidance based on his own experiences. David knew that Solomon would face challenges and temptations as ruler, so he sought to equip him with wisdom and courage. David's death cast a long shadow over the kingdom. The transition of power, once seemingly assured with Solomon as heir apparent, suddenly became fraught with tension and uncertainty. Adonijah, one of David's sons from another wife, saw an opportunity to seize control. He gathered supporters, presented himself as king, and even had a makeshift coronation ceremony. His actions demonstrated ambition and disregard for the established order. But Solomon's loyal supporters, including Nathan the prophet and Bathsheba, acted swiftly to prevent Adonijah's usurpation. They alerted David's trusted advisors and quickly rallied support for Solomon. The kingdom was divided, caught between these powerful factions vying for dominance. Ultimately, it was King David's own decree before his death that swayed the scales in Solomon's favor. 1 Kings 1 verse 39. He had designated Solomon as his successor, a choice recognized by most of the court and the people. Adonijah found himself on the losing side of this power struggle. He was stripped of his ambitions and later executed for his treachery. The kingdom remained unified under Solomon's rule, but the events surrounding David's death served as a reminder that even within families, ambition and power could lead to chaos and conflict. Word of Solomon's wisdom spread throughout the land, drawing people from far and wide seeking his counsel. One day, two women appeared before him, each claiming to be the mother of the same infant child. Their dispute had reached a stalemate, leaving both parties desperate for a resolution. They presented their case before Solomon, begging him to discern the truth. Solomon, known for his keen judgment and insightful understanding, listened carefully to their stories. He pondered the situation deeply, searching for a way to unravel this tangled web of deceit. Finally, he devised a plan. "Bring me a sword," he commanded. The women grew uneasy as the king's request became increasingly ominous. Then Solomon declared, "Divide the living child in two, and give half to one woman and half to the other." This unexpected decree sent shockwaves through both women. They realized the gravity of the situation and how their desperate pleas could lead to such a terrible outcome. One woman cried out in anguish, begging him not to harm her child. The other remained silent, her face contorted with fear. It was in that moment of intense emotion that Solomon recognized the truth. The woman who truly loved her child would never consent to such a gruesome division. He declared, "Give the living child to the first woman. She is its true mother." 1 Kings 3 verses 25 to 28. Solomon's wisdom was evident in his ability to discern the genuine love of a mother from the depths of desperation. Solomon's heart burned with a desire to build a grand house of worship for God. He had received divine guidance, a vision so powerful it left an indelible mark upon his soul. 1 Kings 6 verses 1 to 7. With unwavering conviction, Solomon set about assembling skilled craftsmen and architects, gathering the finest materials from across the land. He envisioned a temple that would be a testament to God's power and majesty, a place where people could come together in reverence and worship. The project was monumental, requiring years of tireless effort and meticulous planning. The construction itself was a marvel of engineering and artistry. Solomon's vision came to life through towering walls adorned with intricate carvings, ornate pillars reaching towards the heavens, and a sacred inner chamber reserved for the Ark of the Covenant, a symbol of God's presence among his people. 1 Kings 6 verses 20 to 38. The temple was finally complete, a beacon of faith and devotion that stood as a symbol of unity and worship. On the day of its dedication, Solomon led the people in joyful celebration, offering sacrifices and hymns of praise to God. 1 Kings 8 verses 57 to 61. This magnificent structure became a focal point for religious life, drawing pilgrims from far and wide who sought solace, guidance, and communion with the divine. Solomon stood before the assembled people, his heart brimming with a profound sense of responsibility. He knew that God's favor rested upon him, and he was determined to uphold the covenant made between God and Israel. 1 Kings 8 verses 28 to 53. God had promised blessings to those who remained faithful, peace, prosperity, and a land flowing with milk and honey, but he also warned of consequences for disobedience: exile, famine, and destruction. Solomon understood the weight of these promises, knowing that his actions would shape the destiny of generations to come. He pledged to follow God's laws, to build a temple where people could worship freely, and to lead his people with wisdom and justice. 1 Kings 3 verses 5 to 14. In return, God renewed his covenant with Solomon and his descendants, promising them continued blessings and a lasting kingdom if they remained steadfast in their commitment. The Israelites were reminded of the significance of this covenant, a bond that tied them together as a nation chosen by God. This wasn't merely a pact between two parties. It was a divine calling to live lives devoted to God's will. Solomon's reign was marked by unprecedented wealth and prosperity. His wisdom was legendary, drawing people from distant lands eager to hear his pronouncements and seek his counsel. He amassed a vast fortune through trade, tribute, and the abundance of the land. He built magnificent palaces, adorned his city with gold and silver, and filled his treasury with precious stones. 1 Kings 10 verses 14 to 29. People traveled from far and wide to witness Solomon's wisdom firsthand. They brought him riddles and perplexing problems, hoping for his insightful solutions. His fame spread throughout the known world, establishing him as a wise and powerful ruler. He was renowned not only for his wealth, but also for his ability to discern truth, dispense justice, and guide his people with righteousness. As Solomon grew older, he began to accumulate many wives and concubines from various nations. While initially drawn to their customs and cultures, these relationships ultimately led him down a path of spiritual compromise. He allowed himself to be influenced by their foreign gods, erecting altars and temples in honor of deities like Asherah and Molech within his own realm. This departure from the worship of Yahweh marked a significant turning point in Solomon's life and reign. Though he had started strong, dedicated to serving God alone, he eventually succumbed to temptation, creating syncretic practices that blended biblical faith with pagan beliefs. His actions saddened God deeply, who foresaw the consequences of this spiritual deviation. The seeds of discord sown during Solomon's reign ultimately blossomed into full-fledged division after his death. His many wives and their foreign gods had not only corrupted his heart, but also served as a catalyst for fracturing unity within the kingdom. His vast empire, once held together by the strength of his wisdom and God's favor, began to crumble under the weight of internal strife. After Solomon's passing, his son Rehoboam ascended the throne. Unfortunately, he followed in his father's footsteps, clinging to the extravagant lifestyle and practices that had alienated God's people. When confronted by his subjects who demanded a lighter tax burden and less harsh rule, Rehoboam chose arrogance over compassion. He responded with a declaration of increased oppression, effectively severing ties between the northern and southern kingdoms. Thus began a period of bitter division. The 10 northern tribes, weary of Rehoboam's tyranny, declared their independence, establishing the kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam. Meanwhile, Judah remained loyal to Rehoboam, forming the kingdom of Judah in the south. This fractured nation, torn by internal conflict and vying for power, found itself further vulnerable to outside threats and spiritual decline.